Pardon me?
Ladies and feeble gentlemen.
Not qualified. Come on, Bill.
Willing, able, and capable.
Like Steph said, anyone's gained or lost 30 pounds. Want me to sit next to you? I'll sit here.
Then sign for 6 feet.
Yep. I'll make those, I make the big sheet.
Glad everybody could make it, and we have more that almost have made it, and they'll be joining us here in a few minutes, we hope. Funerals are not for the person that's about to join the grave. Funerals are for you. Funerals are a time to celebrate the life that we've enjoyed in relationship with other people, whether they be mom, grandmother, mother-in-law, or whoever. And so, as we go through this, think about the good things, because she certainly is today. Luella Smith Wilson was born in 1922 in Carthage County, Kansas, the oldest of three born to Ruth and Virgil Smith, with a sister June and brother Sam. They lived in various locations throughout the Southwest, and during the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, twice they suffered the loss of their home through fire. Luella graduated from high school in El Paso, Texas. She met and courted Captain Mark Wilson, a returning war hero in Denver, Colorado. They were married in the chapel on Lowry Air Force Base in Denver in 1946 and started a family. Mark III arrived in 1947, Steve in 1948, Jim in 1950, Janet in 1951, and then Mark and Lou moved to Cheyenne, where John was born in 1952. In 1953, with 5 kids in tow, they boarded a ship to Japan, and Mary Lou was born the next year. Okinawa followed Japan, then Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Louisville, Kentucky, Denver, Colorado, St. Petersburg, Tampa, and then Fort Walton Beach, Florida, where Mark retired after 24 years of service. They then moved to Tallahassee, and then Jacksonville, and finally settled in Ocala, Florida. Mark died suddenly in 1982, followed closely by Jim. Lou then worked for Sears, retired, and eventually moved to Tennessee. She spent her last years as a resident at the Air Force Village in San Antonio. And I would like to apologize and thank the family for your amazing forgiveness when I assisted Janet to kidnap her in 2002 and take her to our house, where she lived for 5 to 6 months, and then she moved to the Air Force Village. So thank you for being so forgiving. We literally did kidnap her. Lou was totally devoted to her husband and her family. Lou had always seen herself as someone meant to settle and raise her family in one place. Therefore, she was a reluctant traveler. But she was ever the good sport, following her husband faithfully far and wide, always intent to make a home wherever they landed. The first thing she did in each location was hang the curtains and set up the kitchen. Whatever adventure Mark led them into, from camping in the Rockies to the kids learning to water ski in Florida, which was tough for her because she had a great fear of water and she didn't know how to swim. She was in it 100%. From making clothes, learning to cook. Her first meal for Mark was a green omelet. She didn't know how the green got there. She once cooked vegetables to add to a stew because the recipe called for leftover vegetables. She packed lunches, baked bread, mended clothes, she washed and she ironed the clothes. She did all without complaint, motivated by her great love for her family. She and Mark were devoted to each other and to their 6 little Indians. Lou was a strong and dedicated woman. She readily accepted into her heart anyone who needed help. Whether a college roommate in need of Thanksgiving dinner or in need of a surrogate home for the weekend, for a son or a daughter with a broken heart, or one of the kids' school chums with free time on their hands, for a daughter-in-law in need of support during a military deployment, or a daughter having a baby, or a son needing someone to talk to, or a talking to. Lou wanted to give, and she gave. Lou's devotion to her family and her friends will always be remembered. That was compiled by several of the family members. And what we would like to do now is offer you more family, more friends, more in-laws, surrogate children to her. We would like grandchildren and all. We would like to offer you an opportunity to give us a snapshot of how you saw her, so that we have a whole complete picture from all different directions. So if you'd like to say anything, we'd like to hear it.
She always had the M&M bowl. She always had M&Ms. For us grandchildren.
Well, the M&M bowl.
The M&M bowl.
8
You
years
are
old,
in
that's
for
probably
a
a big deal. Who else?
School lunches every day for 6 kids.
Say it again.
School lunches every day for 6 kids.
School lunches every day for 6 kids.
Mom and Dad sent all of us to private Catholic schools, and she drove us back and forth every day. There was no school buses, and so we had to rely on them.
She also made you ride the bus by yourself though too. Right?
But the city bus in Denver, that's the only way I can get
put
back
Jim
from
and I on the
sports
city
practice.
bus in Denver, Colorado, and said ride it to the end of the line and ride it back.
What
You must have been
else?
particularly good that day.
She made it walk, right?
Being in Jacksonville, I had flown into Ocala, and Lou and I were going to drive up to see Mark. And so on the way up, she says to me, she snapped down, I have to have a serious conversation with you. I really need to know something, and I'm just wondering what it is. And then she says, are you afraid to drive over tall bridges? Janet said that's because she was afraid to drive over the tall bridge. So that's a memory right now being involved in Jackson.
Well, I just thought too that when we drove down from Ohio to Tennessee to kidnap her and take her back, she was having difficulties remembering things at the time. And she would get to our house, and when we brought her to the house, she asked Janet every week, she'd say, how long am I going to be here? And Janet would say, oh, a couple of weeks. And she went, oh, okay. And the next week she would say, when are we going home? And Janet would say, next week. And the next week it was the same thing over and over. But she had one thing that she absolutely loved, and that's Klondike bars. The problem was our freezer was in our basement. So we kept and the steps to the basement were not safe for older people to be up and down all the time. And Lou was, I thought, Lou probably doesn't need these Klondike bars, but this is real important to her. And so we went and got her Klondike bars very often because that was her favorite thing to do in the afternoon was eat a Klondike bar. Who else, please?
Well, I'd just like to add that I think the epitome, the thing that epitomizes Mom the most is the word selfless. That she would do anything for any of us, especially the kids. She was always putting us first and her second or last. So she truly was one of the few totally selfless people I ever met in my life.
And she tried very hard to do the right thing, even though the right thing was sometimes hard for her, like letting me be the mom. She would try to mom my kids, and they didn't appreciate it like we did.